Welcome to another session of Management Principles and Applications. And today we are going to discuss strategic planning or planning and strategy. Now, what is corporate strategy? A corporate strategy entails a clearly defined long term vision that organizations set, seeking to create corporate value and motivate the workforce to implement the proper actions to achieve customer satisfaction. So, what is a corporate strategy? It is a sort of a long term vision, and it incorporates all the corporate values which are able to motivate the workforce to implement and to take proper action, which by which you can have efficient utilization of your resources and you can have a successful organization. So, corporate strategy takes a portfolio approach to strategic decision making by looking across all of a firm's business to determine how to create the most value. So, the strategy's goal is to create value for the organization. In order to develop a corporate strategy, firm must look at how the various business they own fit together, how they impact each other, and how the parent company is structured in order to optimize human capital, process, and governance. So, it is going to take into account the entire human capital, all the processes in the organization, the governance, and to ensure that they are fully and optimally utilized. So, corporate strategy builds on top of business strategy, which is considered with the strategic decision making for an individual business. Now, features of strategic planning. What are the features? The first is process of questioning. So, the strategic planning, it answers questions like where we are and where we want to go, what we are and what we want to be. So, whenever you are making strategies, you have to consider these questions first. The second is time horizon, in how much time you want to be there. So, it aims at long term planning, keeping in view the environmental opportunities. It helps organizations analyze their strengths and weakness and adapt to the environment. Managers should be far sighted to make strategic planning meaningful. For that, they take help of forecasting and they schedule to make certain strategies in order to have a better vision of the organization. The third is it is a pervasive process. So it is done for all the organizations at all levels. It involves top executives more than the middle or lower level executives, but the top executives envision the future through scientific techniques of forecasting, and hence it is the strategic planning is at all present at all the levels in the organization. Next is focus of attention. The strategic planning, it focuses on organizations strengths and resources on important and high priority activities rather than routine and day to day activities. So strategic planning is basically for the vision for it is a broader planning of where our organization is and where it should be. So it reallocate resources from non priority to priority sectors. Then it's a continuous process. So once you have made the strategy, you just cannot sit down. It is a continuous process that enables organizations to adapt to the changing and dynamic environment. And in all these strategic planning, you need coordination of the effort, coordination in all the departments, among all the personnel, with top executives, with your shareholders. So, coordination is also a must in strategic planning. Now, there are three levels of strategy making. So, one is corporate level, business level, and functional level. Let us see what are they. Corporate level strategy. Corporate level strategy defines the business areas in which your firm will operate. So it deals with aligning the resource deployment across a diverse set of business areas, related or unrelated. So, for example, Reliance India Limited, it has a business in communication, that is Jio, and it has a retail business, Reliance Retail. So they both are unrelated businesses. Strategy formulation at this level involves integrating and managing the diverse businesses. So, what is the corporate strategy of Reliance? Is to integrate and uh, manage the diverse businesses and realize synergy at the corporate level. So even if they are working in different fields, they have different businesses, they talk about synergy at the corporate level, that how the overall Reliance India Limited can be benefited by it. So the top management team is responsible for formulating the corporate strategy. The corporate strategy reflects the path towards attaining the vision of your organization. Now, for example, here, if your firm has got four distinct line of business operations like automobile, steel, tea, and telecom, the corporate level strategy will outline whether the organization should compete in or withdraw from each of these lines of businesses, and in which business unit investment should be increased in line with the vision of your firm. So, for example, here the Reliance, they invested in Reliance Jio at a point in time, they increased their investments, and once it established itself, now they are divesting, and there are other investors like Facebook, Google, and others which are taking interest in Reliance Jio, and the investments are decreased, or they are actually selling the interest, and they are profiting by that. So it's the corporate level strategy. The business level strategies, these are formulated for specific strategic business units and relate to distinct product market area. It involves defining the competitive position of strategic business unit, SBUs. The business level strategy formulation is based upon the generic strategies of overall cost leadership, differentiation, and focus. Now, for example, if your firm may choose overall cost leadership as a strategy to be pursued in its steel business, differentiation in tea business, and focus in its automobile business, the business level strategies are decided upon by the heads of strategic business units and their teams in the light of specific nature of the industry in which they operate. So, business level can be Reliance Jio. They thought of penetrating markets. So that was their strategy, that you first keep your costs very low, penetrate the market, expand once you penetrate, and then sell off your interest. So this was particular to that strategic business unit, which is known as Reliance Jio from the Reliance India Limited. Functional level strategies. What are functional level strategies? These relate to the different functional areas which a strategic business unit has, such as marketing, production, and operations, finance, and human resources. These strategies are formulated by the functional heads along with their teams and are aligned with business level strategies. The strategies at the functional level involve setting up short-term functional objectives, attainment of which will lead to the realization of business level strategy. So, for example, the Starbucks, it is coming up with another marketing strategy because the people are not going now to the offices, and their coffee retail business is getting a hit in COVID times. So they have opened up special outlets for mobile orders and delivery system. So this is to increase their sales, and this is a marketing strategy for them, and that is at the functional level of marketing. Now, another example here, that the marketing strategy, let us say for a tea business, which is following the differentiation strategy, may translate into launching and selling a wide variety of tea variants through company owned retail outlets. This may result in distribution objective of opening 25 retail outlets in a city and producing 15 varieties of tea may be the objective of the production department. The realization of functional strategies in the form of quantifiable and measurable objectives will result in the achievement of business level strategies as well. Now, what are the components of the corporate strategy? So there are these components, that is the allocation of resources, organizational design, strategic trade-offs, and portfolio management. Let's see one by one what they mean. Allocation of resources. What are the resources? People, capital, machinery, materials. So the allocation of resources at a firm focuses basically on two resources, people and capital. In an effort to maximize the value of the entire firm, leaders must determine how to allocate these resources to the various businesses or business units to make the whole greater than the sum of the parts. It's all about synergy, which I talked about. So key factors related to the allocation of resources are about people. You'll find out their core competencies, that what they are good at, what is their best skill, and ensuring they are well distributed across the firm. So one department shouldn't have all the skilled people. So let us say, for example, you picked up five students or five for your assistant managers, five students from IIM Ahmedabad. Now all five you cannot put in marketing department only. So ideally you would be putting one in marketing, one in finance, one in HR, one in production, and so on. So you have to distribute them evenly. Moving leaders to the places they are needed most and add the most value. So now if there is any critical function which is important in these times, then you will move heads and you would see that the one who is competent or is better suited for that job should come and acquire that place so that you can utilize him the most. So if someone has got a very good marketing abilities, so this is the time to move him into marketing department. Ensuring an appropriate supply of talent is available to all business. So every time you have to capture the new talent, new ideas, because why people or the businesses go in for recruiting all the time the new blood, because they want the fresh ideas to keep coming in. Hence, to make it a dynamic organization, you have to concentrate on right allocation of people. Then capital, allocating capital across businesses so it earns the highest risk adjusted rate. So you have to allocate your capital where you get the most profit. Analyzing external opportunities, so you will keep analyzing opportunities for mergers, acquisitions, or if there are good projects coming in, or there are certain other external opportunities that some good firm is being sold, then you can bid for it. So you have to keep looking for opportunities to use your capital in the most efficient way. The second is organizational design. Organizational design ensures the firm has the necessary corporate structure and related systems in place to create the maximum value. Factors that leaders must consider are the role of corporate head, centralized and decentralized, and the reporting structure of individuals and business units, vertical hierarchy, matrix reporting. So, what is the organizational structure? How flat or how tall the organization is, whether it is centralized or it is decentralized. If you are in a banking business, then yes, you have to be decentralized. If it is marketing business, you have to be decentralized, but if it is the cash concentrating business, then it is better to be being centralized. So the key factors related to organizational design are: one, that whether your head office how much autonomy to give it to business units. So to keep it centralized or decentralized, and how much authority you can give to the business units, deciding whether decisions are made top down or bottoms up. So this we have also discussed before, that which kind of strategy which you would be taking will depend upon the situation of the business. Then organizational structure, reporting structure, that who reports to whom. So determine how large initiatives and commitments will be divided into smaller project, how you can integrate business unit and business functions, that there are no redundancies, allowing for the balance between risk and return to exit by separate responsibilities, developing centers of excellence, determining the appropriate delegation of authority. So authority responsibility structure should actually be clear in the organization. Who takes the initiative, who is committed to which work, whether you should have n number of business unit or you should integrate them and make them small, what are the business functions. Do you really need, if you are big enough, then you need a finance function and let's say another accounting function, but if you are a small firm, then finance and accounting can be clubbed together, so that there are no redundancies, so nobody sits idle, allowing for the balance between risk and return to exist. So it is like you cannot always go full on risk, or you just see the return and you do not want to take any risk. Risk and return go hand in hand, and you have to understand that, and hence you have to separate those responsibilities also. Developing centers of excellence, you have to understand what are your core competencies, what are the ways or which departments you are excelling, and you have to keep excelling, and hence you have to keep deployed, your resources deployed in those, and you have to develop others also as the centers of excellence. Now determining the appropriate delegation of authority. So I've told you the authority and responsibility structure. Portfolio management. Portfolio management looks at the way business units complement each other, their correlations, and decides where the firm will play. That is, whether it will go in on for that business or it would not. So corporate strategy related to portfolio management, it includes deciding what business to be in or not, determining the extent of vertical integration the firm should have. What are the vertical integrations? That if you have a car company, then you want to go into tires, you want to go into the rubber industry, so that is the vertical integration. Managing risks through diversification and reducing the correlation of results across business. So how you manage your risk by diversifying. So diversification is not putting all the eggs in one basket. So you have to do that while you are deciding upon your portfolio of the company. Creating strategic options by seeding new opportunities that could be heavily invested in if appropriate. So you have to find out the strategic options for the new opportunities as well, and then monitoring the competitive landscape and ensuring the portfolio is well balanced relative to trends in the market. So you have to keep looking for your competitors, what is the portfolio they are carrying, and is your portfolio competitive enough, and this gives you a very good clue. Next is strategic trade-offs. It is one of the most challenging aspects of corporate strategy. And what is that? It is balancing the trade-offs between risk and return across the firm. I told you, higher the risk, higher the return. So you have to find out one point where you are okay with certain risk, and then only you can have return. So it is important to have a holistic view of all the business combined and ensure that the desired levels of risk management and return generation are being pursued. So what are the main factors to be considered for strategic trade-offs? One, the first is you will manage risk. So there is firm-wide risk, which is largely dependent on the strategies it chooses to pursue. So one can be a risky strategy, another can be a moderately risky strategy. So true product differentiation, for example, is a very high risk strategy that could result in a market leadership position or total ruin. So for example, total product differentiation, that our product is completely different from others. So it may make you a leader in the market, or the customers may not completely like it and they reject it completely, and that's a total ruin situation. So in this true product differentiation, the risk is very high. Many companies adopt a copycat strategy. So once somebody has come in or forayed into that market, people would copycat it by looking at what other risk takers have done and modifying it slightly. So for example, the TikTok app. So when it came, people were not sure what is it, that why you would be imitating somebody, but it became an industry leader. And then there were so many other apps which actually copycat it. So it depends that you want to be, if you want to be a market leader, then you have to differentiate your product from others, but it has got its own risks. Then generating returns. Higher risk strategies create the possibilities of higher returns. That's what I told you, higher risk, higher return. So the example of true product differentiation or cost leadership could provide the most return in the long run if they are well executed. So if you are able to execute them well, you'll have very good returns. Swinging for the fences will lead to more home runs and more strikeouts. So it's important to have the appropriate number of options in the portfolio. So rather than going in for at the fences that either we would be out or we would be in, what you can do is you can have a little balanced strategy of a number of options in your portfolio. These options can later turn into big bets as the strategy develops. So then you are playing safe, and you are actually reducing your risk. Incentives. Incentive structures will play a big role in how much risk and how much return managers seek. It may be necessary to separate the responsibilities of risk management and return generation so that each can be pursued to the desired level. Now, incentive structure, if the managers are given good incentives, they might be ready to take more risks because they are getting directly benefited by it. So, in that case, you have to penalize them also for the losses, and then they might be more rational in their ventures. It may necessary be to separate the responsibility of risk management and return generation so that each can be pursued at the desired level. So what it is suggesting is that you make a risk manager and you make another return generation manager. So both are different strategy people. They would he would be minimizing the risk, he would be maximizing the return, and they would come on a path which would be balanced for the organization and best for the organization. It may further help to manage multiple overlapping timelines ranging from short term risk or return to long term risk or return, and ensuring there is appropriate dispersion. So, in that case, if you divide the departments, then there would not be overlapping of timings, and they would come at a consensus point where the organization will get benefited by it, and there would be a good dispersion also. What is dispersion? The deviation from the mean value. So if let us say there is some mean return we are talking about, so a little deviation from it would be an appropriate deviation, as in they both, the return manager and the risk manager, would try to swing in into their department, and hence the organization will benefit from that. Now, steps for strategy formulation. What are the various steps, and how should we formulate our strategies, or make the what is the process of strategic planning? So every business wants to earn more than a decent amount of profit. That is what we know. They want their business to grow and to be forced to reckon with in the industry. Everybody wants to dominate the industry. Naturally, everyone also wants to be ahead of the competition, beating them soundly and putting as much distance as they can between their competitors. So everybody wants to be at the top. So now how you should formulate your strategies so that you can top your competitors. The first is define the organization and its environment, define the strategic mission, define and set the strategic objectives, define the competitive strategy, implementation of strategies, evaluate progress and effectiveness. The first is, or the first step is to define the organization and its environment. So you have to understand what is your organization all about and what environment it is existing. So, having a thorough knowledge of your organization as well as the environment gives you a better base for a good strategy or strategic planning. So, the first thing you have to see is your perspective, and you have to understand that every business has a long term perspective. So, it is looking at the long term, not just 1, 2, 3, or 5 years, but 10, 20 years down the line. So, you have to be clear on that front. The second is core values of the organization. The mission must include the values that are upheld and highly esteemed by the organization. These values will largely dictate how you're going to go about the process of achieving the goals of organization. For example, if your values are that you have to be socially responsible, then the company would be disposing of its waste in a responsible manner. And if there is certain pollution that is created by the company, they would make it a point to plant more trees or keep their factories outside the cities. So they go by their values in carrying out the process of business. Then nature of the business. So it briefly includes a description of the core activities or main line of business organization. So you have to express in strategy what is your nature of business. Is it a retail business or an automobile manufacturing or a fast moving consumer good market, or healthcare services? What is the nature of the business? You have to be really clear about in before making your strategies. Then current position of organization in the market. So you have to see whether you are the market leader or you are a follower or you are just a new entrant, and accordingly you would be making your strategies. So, is the organization currently holding the leadership position? Are there special characteristics or features that clearly distinguish the organization from the rest? These should also be noted in the strategic mission. And then the vision of the organization. What is the vision? What and where the organization wants to be in the future, on its own and in the market, and what the strategy was all about, where you are and where you want to go. So, vision is where you want to go. Hence, the strategy should be clear about this vision of the organization. The next is defining the strategic mission. Now, mission statements are an important process. Developing mission statements are one of the steps of action planning process. An organization's mission statement describes what the group is going to do. Why is it going to do that? Mission statements are similar to vision statements, but they are more concrete and they're definitely more action oriented than vision statements. The mission might refer to a problem such as inadequate housing or a goal such as providing access to healthcare for everyone. And while they don't go into a lot of detail, they start to hint very broadly at how your organization might go about fixing the problem. So, some general mission statements are concise, although not as short as a phrase as a vision statement. A mission statement should still get its point across in one sentence. So, it is more or less of a sentence only. Mission statements explain the overarching outcomes your organization is working to achieve. So it has to be outcome oriented. What should be the outcome? While mission statements do make statements about your group's overarching goals, it is very important that they do so very broadly. Good mission statements are not limiting in these strategies or sectors of community that may become involved in the project. So it has to be very inclusive one. Hence, it has to be a little broad and not pinpointing something that later on you cannot change it. Hence, the strategic missions have to be prepared very carefully. The next is define and set the strategic objectives. Defining the strategic objectives involve identifying performance targets that the member of the organization will aim for, and these targets are clearly geared towards the attainment of the goals. When setting strategic objectives, you have to keep the following things in your mind. They should be specific objectives we have already done, so you know them, that they should be specific, easy to understand, and especially to the members of the organization. Then they should be aligned with the strategic mission. So once you have created the mission, your strategies should take you to the mission. They should be communicated to all employees and the other members of the organization, and every effort must be made to ensure that they fully understand the objectives as well as their individual and collective roles in achieving these targets. So, a strategic objective may be something as specific as to increase annual growth of sales rate by 15%, or it could be something like how, let's say, a company, New Leaf Paper, set out to develop a new market for environmentally sustainable papers and pioneer that market by introducing innovative environmental paper products. So, it can be quantitative as 15% and qualitative as they have to make environmentally sustainable papers. Then we have defining the competitive strategy. It is like where the organization will start identifying and coming up with its long-term plan to gain advantage and maintain it over the competition. This is known as the competitive advantage. How you have competitive advantage over your competitors. So this involves taking a look at the industry or the marketplace and its various aspects like market size. So what is how big is the market? So logic would dictate that overall competitive strategy of a business in South American hotel industry will have differences with that of a firm in the large European hotel industry. The size of the market comes with several implications. For example, larger markets generally have more players, which means more competitors. It is also often means higher amount of investment and resource allocation by the company since they have a large area to cover. These and other factors are sure to influence an organization's competitive strategy. So, bigger the market, more the resources you want, and you will face higher competition. So, your strategy should keep that in the mind. Then, market growth trends. How, at what percentage the market is growing? If it is growing at a good percentage, then it is worth going or entering in the market. So this requires looking into the past market growth, how the market is currently moving along, and any potential growth in future. Many industrial and market analysts conduct these types of studies from time to time, providing businesses with their inputs and thoughts on the future of the market, which these businesses will then use in its strategic management process. So, market growth would make the competitive strategy. Competition. A particular point of interest is competitive profitability. How are the competing firms in the market doing in terms of profit earning? So, you will go ahead and see that how much your competitors are earning. Are there huge disparities in the profit levels? That one competitor is earning very good and the other is hardly surviving. So is the average actual profitability of the firm lower or higher than the expected industry average? If it is higher than the industry average, then that means that you should enter in that market strategically. Whereas if you are seeing that there is lot of disparity, then you have to be really careful about your costs. So the strategies should be about reducing the costs more and heavily investing in the marketing. Movements in and out of the market. So now you also have to consider the number of new market entries. Whether people are there are so many people entering and withdrawing also, that means there is something which they are missing. So you have, in order to be more competitive in that market, you have to be really cost effective. A market with too many new entrants can mean a lot of things. It is possible that new players are coming in because they think there is still room for them. Some may also deem the existing firms in the market are a weak competition, and that is why they are coming in. So, or they think that they can have a market differentiation of their product. So, you have to see who's going in and out of the market to make your competitive strategy. Then threats to the industry. So some industries are prone to more threats than the others, and this affects the formulation of strategies. Like aviation. Aviation is always a threat industry because there are barriers to entry. There are a lot of investments. It is not easy to come out of that, and in anything happens, it is the aviation industry which gets affected. Corona happens, aviation gets affected. 9/11 happened, aviation got affected. So what are the threats to your industry, and your strategies should be made according to that. Then, very important, implementation of strategies. Now, if you've made all the strategies and there is no way of the strategies you're going to implement, then it would not make any sense. So organizations may have come up with very good strategies, but they will be completely wasted and will benefit no one unless they are implemented, and they are implemented effectively. Identify the tactics or methods that will be used in the implementation of the chosen strategies. As the implementation moves forward, management may spot some methods or tactics that are not working, or they may realize that another tactic may work. In that case, the corresponding adjustments may be made. So, in that implementation of strategies, you may have to develop innovative products, you may have to get certification from the business corporations, environmental certifications you might need, or you'll have to tie up with major companies when you are doing the business, or you have to leverage your partnership, so you have to make more partners. All these comes under the implementation part of the strategies. Once you have made these strategies, these all actions you may have to do to keep the strategies alive, and to keep getting the goal of the organization. Evaluate progress and effectiveness. Now, it is important to track the progress of implementation. Are they being properly implemented? Are they being measured properly? Are there enough safeguards to ensure reliability of the results? And on the top of that, the effectiveness of the strategy implemented should also be assessed. Is this strategy working? Does it have the potential to bring the company closer to the fulfillment of its goals as laid out in the mission statement? So, all these questions you have to keep asking to evaluate the progress and effectiveness of your strategy. Now, for example, there's this company New Leaf Paper. Its strategies resulted in other paper companies launching their own lines of environmentally responsible paper products that are very similar with New Leaf. Hence, the success of New Leaf spurred 5 competing paper companies to launch their own brands. Clearly, this is an indication that the company is making strides in its vision of inspiring through their success. That fundamental shift towards sustainability in the paper industry. So, this is showing that they are um, implementing their strategies well, that people are aligning with their vision and coming up with more sustainable paper in the market. Also, feedback plays a very important role in the evaluation stage, providing the strategists with the insight on how the implementation of strategies are faring. So they have to keep taking the feedback of their strategies, whether they are effective or not. So with the feedback, you would be able to ensure that your strategies are working well and fine. Now, key factors to successful strategic planning. They are given by Michael Stanley. So, organizations around the globe develop strategic plans. They carefully create a vision of their future and the strategies needed to get there. But many fail to realize their vision and fail to deliver the expected strategic results. Unfortunately, executive teams cannot pinpoint the reasons for this dilemma, so they repeat the strategic planning cycle over and over, always hoping that the next strategic planning session will bring better results. And of course, it doesn't. So, in our experience, there are 5 critical factors that will ensure your strategic plans are successful implemented. What are those? Engagement, communication, innovation, project management, culture. Engagement. According to McKinsey and Company, only 23% of companies use a formal strategic planning process to make important strategic decisions. In 52% of the companies, these decisions are made by a small senior group. So, it is important that there should be engagement. Strategic planning is a process, it is not an event. A key element in the process is the engagement of all levels of staff throughout the organization. Staff engagement generates additional input and helps build their commitment to the end plan. It is essential to involve employees in the planning of strategy and direction of the organization. So what will the employees inputs do? They provide insight into issues, challenges, concerns and opportunities which may not have been known or fully understood. Also, they ensure their buy-in to help execute the strategies. So they are on to or convinced by the strategies, and hence it helps in executing those strategies. The senior management team will not execute these strategies, it is the staff who will. So engage them and your strategy execution success rate will increase dramatically. So this is what is engagement all about. Engage your people in your strategy making. Communication. Now you have to communicate your strategies properly. According to Harvard Business School, 2 out of 3 HR and IT departments develop plans that are not linked to the company's overall strategy. So, strategic planning process are successful when a bottoms up or top down communication approach is taken. It starts off with a communication to all levels of employees, informing that a strategic planning process will be undertaken. It includes how they will be involved in this process. So, this is the bottom up communication. Employees will provide input to the strategic planning process through feedback surveys, focus groups, meetings, etc., regarding their ideas for organizational direction. Also, it is followed by top-down communication. Senior management will share the strategic plan with employees. They will communicate to all employees how their engagement will help ensure success in the execution of these strategies. So, communication is an important part of strategy. Third is innovation. So, why there is failure in strategies? Because there is lack of innovation. So, process to manage is also process of innovation. You have to continuously create innovative strategies to achieve your objectives. So, according to Michael Stanley, organizations need the courage to try something risky that they don't know will work. And why? Because if they know it will work, they'll only get an improvement to what they already have. Yet, if they try something that is a little dangerous and new, they will realize true innovation. So, some strategic plans include strategies to develop a new product or deliver a new service or restructure a department, etc. They put teams of individuals together to work on these major initiatives and give them investment money to ensure success. Yet, over time, it becomes apparent that this team won't realize the strategic goal given to them, and the strategy itself will be deemed a failure. So, this is wrong. Hence, this is not a failure of execution, it is the lack of innovation process to manage the strategy that led to the failure. So the senior management created strategies that required innovation to achieve them, and failure to do so will fail your strategies. And unfortunately, it is very common. So you have to keep innovating. Project management. Now, most devastatingly, 95% of employees do not understand their company's strategies. How they are supposed to execute a plan if they don't understand it. So, once the strategic plan is together, there are two critical elements related to project management. One is to identify the projects that are required to ensure success in the execution of each strategy, and another to develop prioritization of all these projects to ensure the high priority ones have the proper resourcing to ensure success. This requires a high involvement and commitment on the part of employees to spend the time required on the projects. Hence, the high level of involvement of employees ensure that they understand the strategic planning. It increases their level of commitment to ensure the strategy is successfully executed. Why? Because they understand how their work and the work they are completing on the project helps the organization to realize some or all of one of their key strategies. So the project management is a very important technique, and because it increases the involvement and commitment on the part of employees. Culture. There is a failure to understand the culture of the organization as well as failure to develop values and culture to support the plans. Organization culture is the commonly held attitudes, values, beliefs, and behaviors of employees. That is what an organization culture is all about. How the employees feel, what is their attitude, beliefs, values, and they behave in the organization. So, the culture of an organization is as unique and diverse as an individual's personality. If the employees of an organization believe that change is something to be feared and avoided, then the change implementation is often reactive and haphazard. So, people would hate bringing about the change if the organization's culture is that you have to be scared of the changes. If the employees believe that all change should be aggressively implemented from above, then change is seldom supported. But if they are being told that the change is going to benefit them and the change is uh, arising from them only, that there is a need for them to be upskilled, then they would favor the change. So, however, if the employees of organization believe that change is worthwhile and everyone's responsibility, then change and growth occur with relative ease. So these are there are few excellent organizations that continue to excel in their industry when their culture supports change. It is followed by the top down communication. Senior management will share the strategic plan with the employees. They'll communicate to all employees how their engagement will help ensure success in the execution of these strategies. So, you have to make a culture which is cooperative and which understands the top strategies of the executives, and it is open to change. And when it would be open to change, when they think that or it is their responsibility and the change is worthwhile for the growth and development of the organization. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll come up with another session tomorrow.